Hello and welcome to Comically Incompetent. My name is Doug. This is the podcast where we take a movie, take a beer whose name and or make has to do with that movie, and we talk about it. Right now we're in the tail end of our MCU in review series, which is super exciting, and we got some new stuff coming up on the road ahead. We're going to start doing kind of alternating. We're going to have comic book movies, non-comic book movies, and just kind of alternate series or movies and kind of do it that way in a movie review style, and keeping this more conversational style we've been doing. This week we're going to be talking about Spider-Man Homecoming, the first in the Spider-Man solo films of the MCU. And the beer I got, I'm very excited. My girlfriend helped me find this. It's called Scale the Walls by Institution Ales. I think that works so perfectly. I'll get more into that at the end of the show. And this week, my guest, for the YouTube people, you know who it is. You know this face already, this shining, bright face. Adam, how you doing?
Doing well. So happy to be back talking about Spider-Man. Yeah, I can't wait to jump into it. That beer looks good today. I just got water, so friendly reminder, stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated. I know most of our listeners are in California, and it's hot as fuck, so stay hydrated for sure.
Stay hydrated, yeah.
And I got the old logo shirt on for you.
I know, I'm jealous.
So I'm going to try and make some new logo shirts. If anyone's interested, let me know on Twitter or Instagram if you guys want one. So let's just hop in. I mean, this movie is, I think Tom Holland is the best Peter Parker we've had on screen, but not the best Spider-Man we've had on screen. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I do agree. He's Peter Parker even when he's Spider-Man, I think. You know, like he kind of loses that. It's kind of fun to him just kind of coming into himself and figuring out, you know, what he is. Because this is really the origin story, even though it's kind of post. I feel like when you would have an origin story, you know, like how all the other ones you see him get bit, he's freaking out, what's going on here? Yeah. Like we're just diving straight into Spider-Man.
Yeah, it makes sense because we've seen that origin story before this one 2 times of Tom Maguire and Andrew Garfield. Yep. And it's just so well known. Like Spider-Man, I feel like hit such a pop culture thing that even we had cartoons, we had comic books, obviously, and there's so much of pop culture that showed him getting bit and like Uncle Ben dying, all the same things over and over again that they didn't need it. We can pick up here and everyone knows exactly what happened.
Right. There's just kind of little nods here and there to pay homage to, you know, a lot of those, you know, the origin of Spider-Man as a character. But I love, you know, the kind of new take on MJ and it's just fun. It's throwing you into a new ride. But I think they realize that the audience doesn't want to see the same thing again. Oh, here we go again. He's getting bit. Yeah. He's in an alley fighting guys. He's kissing girls upside down. Like because we've seen that all before. Exactly. And you know, like they make jokes like throughout the movie, like towards all those tropes in the past series.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I mean, it's just like I think the only time they ever actually referenced what happened was in a very, very quick scene. He's talking to Ned, and Ned's like, "So you got bit by a spider?" And he's like, "Yeah." And
he's like, "It's dead." That was it. All right. Yeah. He's like, "It's dead now." All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I mean, if anyone, so just speaking of MJ, if anyone thinks Zendaya did not kill it as MJ, just stop listening, stop watching. I don't want you as a fan of this show because she killed it. She's amazing in this movie.
Oh, she was great, yeah. And she's so out of left field, you don't even realize that she's MJ until the end of it. You know, she's just Michelle up until the end. And you think that who is the girl? What's the girl's name that he's interested in?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Awkward. Because
Liz.
I thought
Liz, okay, played by Laura Harrier.
You think at the beginning that she might be, you know, the new take on MJ, but now she's just kind of his little high school obsession for right now.
Yeah, which I think it's funny. They're supposed to be 15 years old in this movie.
Yeah.
Which I know
15.
Yeah, the guy who plays Ned is Jacob Batalon. I think he's older than I am, and I'm 26.
Interesting. I could see that, but he played it well.
Oh yeah,
I think they cast this movie well with even older actors, but who still look young and still have a very young spirit. Because a lot of times you're like, no way are these guys in high school.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they are college or beyond.
Well, I definitely got that vibe from the Tom Maguire one because you have, I can't think of it. I'm blanking on names today. The guy who played Flash in those ones. Who, I mean, all the people in that movie were like in their at least mid-20s in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man playing high schoolers. And it was like, not even like,
James Franco seemed way too old to be like his friend in high school. They're like, no way.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I get maybe they're supposed to be like seniors or something, but there's no way that these guys were high schoolers.
Yeah,
like
no,
at
I
all.
totally agree. Yeah,
Well,
it was fun. I felt like I missed a movie though right when it started, just because it did kind of throw you right into it. I was like, wait, am I watching the right one? Or because he already seems like established now, he has a suit. Like, what's going on? But I think that's what they wanted.
Yeah, they use Civil War as a way to kind of go, like, here's a taste. This is kind of what you're gonna get into, and then the movie just throws you right in.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the movie opens up and at the end of the Avengers. So it's Michael Keaton's character, which, by the way, I think Michael Keaton, acting wise, not the character he played as the Vulture, but just as an actor, I think Michael Keaton was the best villain the MCU saw.
Absolutely, I thought he absolutely nailed it, especially too because he had a drive.
Yeah,
like he had a motive throughout the whole thing, and it wasn't even against Spider-Man. Spider-Man was literally just bugging him the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
No pun intended, but like he was being so annoying. He's like always showing up, and he's like, dude, I don't want to kill you. Like, just leave me alone. Like, let me do my illegal things illegally, and nobody, like, we don't have to go there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I've talked about before on the show, the best villains are the ones that you can almost sympathize with what they're doing. You know it's wrong, but you still see why it's happening. That's exactly what he was doing. He was screwed over by S.H.I.E.L.D., basically, and he decided, you know what, then I'm going to use what I can to support my family by creating these, basically weapons and just no one's going to get in the way of him supporting his family, giving his family the best life he could. Right. And when you describe it in this way, like, you're like, I get it. I kind of get it. Like,
and he's just the middleman. He's not using the weapons. He's not buying the weapons. He's like, he's an intermediary, just selling him to more high-profile people.
I mean, Tony Stark.
Right, yeah. I mean, I love that analogy, too, where he's, he's talking to Spider-Man at the end, and talking to Peter, and he's like, this is the same thing, just on a micro scale. Yeah. Like Tony Stark's doing the same thing. Where do you think, his fortune was built from? Is sending selling all these, crazy dangerous weapons to the bad guys.
Yeah. And I do like that Robert Downey Jr. is in this movie a fair amount. I do like that they had that crossover of, like, because until then, this movie, we hadn't really seen, like, just this kind of single movie with a couple crossovers. We'd seen Civil War, which is technically a solo movie, but that was basically an Avengers movie. But this is one of the first ones I can remember or think of right now that we have seen just two heroes. And then Ragnarok does the same thing, which next week we'll talk about. Just having two heroes cross over, and it'd be like, I think that's how they did start doing these movies. I don't think you can really do a straight up solo movie anymore with the world they built.
And I think they kind of played off that too, with putting the bank heist guys in the Avengers masks, and it's like a faux knockoff full Avengers movie with just like bits and pieces of the full story, because the Avengers movies do get clustered, and everybody needs screen time, so they'll throw in weird little quips here and there, but I think it's so much more fun and authentic, and really gives those characters like Robert Downey or Gwyneth Paltrow at the end moments to shine without it feeling forced. Yeah, in those larger canon movies.
I just like how much this movie built, like I said, a really good Peter Parker. I think you and I talked about. I think the best Spider-Man is Into the Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
But this movie does such a good job building a Peter Parker that, like, is funny. He's quirky. He's the exact
young,
Peter Parker
he's inexperienced.
that we want. Yeah. He fit that bill, because I feel like when you take the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and you take his Peter Parker, he did really well. Like, he was very nerdy and a loser, but that was like, okay, very one-dimensional. Then you take Andrew Garfield, who's kind of the loner and the photographer, and he wasn't really a nerd. He's just kind of like this guy off to the side, and you got that dimension of it. But I feel like Tom Holland's character in the Spider-Man they built in this was very good. He hit every tick that a Spider-Man fan wants. Yep. In a Peter Parker.
I always think it's fun. It's so funny too how, like, I mean, we're just like, we suspend our disbelief that nobody realizes that he's Spider-Man. They're like, oh, where's Peter? He's gone. Oh, but Spider-Man's here.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in DC.
No, they're like, yeah, right, yeah. Same thing with Superman. They're like, that's so random that Peter's not here. He would have loved to see this. Apparently, he's friends with him. Yeah. Nobody puts that together, except, which made the scene great with Michael Keaton in the end, where they're driving to the prom. Oh, and he's like putting it all together. That scene was great. That's a great scene.
That's the reason I love Michael Keaton. He goes from playing like he's the villain. We all know he's the villain, but in this scene, he's kind of being just his normal. He's being like a quirky dad, like send his daughter off to dance. Like he's very, and then he kind of starts to piece together, and then you just see throughout that scene he starts to get just more menacing every second, more menacing every time you cut back to him, until finally he pulls out the gun and he's like, "I'll kill you and everyone you've ever loved." Like he just go meet like that. That slow kind of steady decline just in that one single car ride was just so
cool to watch too. And I love how they like paired that tension with the tension of like Homecoming, like just like nerves like back in high school of like going on a date and oh god now I'm like talking to the dad in the car. Like that was such a great play there.
It was very relatable. They did a very good job of pushing that high school angle of awkward high school, of having to ask someone to the dance, of having to just be alive and living in high school.
Right. I love their their little show, their little program they had. The two people who are like, he's like, "Do you have a date?" He's like, "No." I'm like, okay, and it just like zooms in awkwardly on his face.
Did you do yours? Did your school have like a news video thing like that? Oh,
we did like announcements in the morning, but we didn't have like a video representation.
Okay, yeah, we had one. It was very much like that in my high school. It was like not as like shitty, I guess, but it was still kind of like, it wasn't put together super well because it was put together by high schoolers who,
right?
You know, when you're in high school, you think you have better things to do.
Right. Yeah. Which reminds me of the post credit scene, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll get there. I like the aspects of this movie. I feel like they just did a good job of everything. That like, it's hard to just go like scene by scene because I feel like this movie just did such a good job. Just overall, it's a good movie. I think everyone did their part beautifully. I think Marissa Tomei as Aunt May killed it. Mm-hmm. She's amazing. Yeah. She did a good job in this one of being, like, you kind of get to see the relationship. Like, she's trying to be that parent figure, but also she knows he's sneaking out every night. And she's not doing anything about it because she's also trying to keep that, like, I guess almost like that distance of like an aunt. Like, she's not his mother, and she's not trying to be his mother. Mm-hmm. So she's like, I know you're sneaking out every night, but she doesn't stop him from doing it, really. Because
that's funny when she confronted him about that, and you know, she's like what is going on? Like I called all these police stations, and he's like, oh, I lost the internship. Yeah. She's like, oh, it makes sense. Now you're just sneaking out. You're just being like an angsty teenager.
Yeah, exactly. And she did such a good job in this movie. I mean, like I said, everyone did a good job, but I think, you know, we start off with damage control. So they're trying to clean up after, and we start in 2012. Like, they're trying to clean up after the Chitauri invade New York, and Adrian Toomes, who is our villain, Michael Keaton, they basically say like, "Yeah, you're done. Get out."
Right.
And so
he's
they
like,
go.
I overextended myself.
That dude was a
he was being so mean to him.
Yeah. So maybe you shouldn't
have
overextended.
Punched him, and they're like, "All right, no need to get hasty. Just take it up with my superiors."
Yeah, it's funny because like he punched him, and all the SHIELD agents pull guns on him. Right. And it's like he just punched him. He's not armed. Like, you know, he's not armed.
That whole scene was pretty funny though. And then he's like, "Oh, we got this extra truck. Should we bring it over? Yeah. Should we not? Oh, let's keep it. Study it."
And then they start making some crazy stuff out of this Chitauri stuff. Power source, gems, whatever they were. I have no idea, honestly.
He causes that reminds me that Peter Parker causes a lot of damage in this movie.
Oh yeah,
like pretty much any time he's trying to be Spider-Man, whether he's like trying to get somewhere. I remember like when he's taking that shortcut, he's running back through like trying to catch the van. He was like running through everybody's backyards, like breaking fences, breaking like pretty much anything in his way. Like his collateral is huge.
Yeah, it did a good job showing his inexperience as Spider-Man, as a hero. Of the fact that I feel like when you have like an Iron Man, obviously they could do it cleaner and quicker and like just
way
better,
more efficiently. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was just, you know, like you said, he was doing the Ferris Bueller of jumping over through yards, but he was breaking everything on his way through it.
Right.
And I mean, that's a great scene. I love the Ferris Bueller parallel, and then also just straight up saying like, showing Ferris Bueller's playing in someone's backyard. So it's like, we have the reference. So if you get the reference, but if you didn't get the reference, here's showing exactly what we're referencing.
Yep. Yeah. And this movie had a lot of those like looking straight at you and being like, this is like we're obviously making a movie, but we're gonna have fun with it.
Yeah, well, I read that whoever the director was had all the teenage actors watch like pretty much every John Hughes movie to kind of get a feel of like what he was going through a John Hughes high school vibe, which I think he did a relatively good job of doing.
Yeah, it's always hard to do school movies and like have them be semi-serious at the same time.
I mean, and John Hughes was the king of high school movies. You can't be as good as John Hughes. You can only do your best to emulate what John Hughes had done.
Exactly. And I think Ned was a key part in that because I think he very much embodied that, oh my god, like, you know, he's playing with Legos, you know. And
Yeah.
I thought that was a fun Disney flex. Also, they're like, yeah, let's just throw some Star Wars thing in there. Yeah, just because we own it.
Yeah, might as
You
well.
know, like, yeah.
And I mean, you and I are big into Legos, and that Lego Death Star is a pretty awesome Lego that I wish I could get.
Yeah, and that made that moment where he's sitting in his room with the skeleton structure of it so much more impactful, because he was probably working on that for hours and it just all breaks.
Yeah, I mean, I have a Lego A-Wing right above my head, right up here, and I couldn't imagine, like, you have to be shocked. I would have to be like, just basically, like, my mind exploded for me to drop this thing on the ground.
Right.
Which shows how amazing it was when Peter comes crawling on the ceiling, not knowing he's there.
Yeah, and for him to not be aware of somebody else in the room is kind of funny, because he's usually the one sneaking around, like, spying on everybody else.
Yeah, where was his spidey sense? I feel like well, I guess he's young and inexperienced. He doesn't have a spidey sense exactly.
Yeah.
Or what do they call in the second one? His Peter tingle?
I don't know.
Oh, you haven't seen the second one?
No.
Oh, okay,
This was my first time seeing this.
Oh, yeah.
This
okay.
one. Yeah. So I really liked it. I was glad to watch it in sequence too, and it's it's been awesome.
Yeah, but you've seen, like, Infinity War and Endgame.
Yep.
So now how does this, because he's very impactful, especially in Infinity War.
Yes.
How does this kind of make you feel like a tie-in?
It gives him, I mean, it makes those scenes so much more powerful. You know, like, they always meme it, you know, I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark.
Yeah.
Like, but that scene really is tough to watch. I mean, like, it's
Yeah.
really hard. And you definitely, after watching this movie, I definitely understand his relationship with Tony a lot more.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Tony is trying to be like a father figure, and, you know, kind of says that a couple of times, but then is also looking at himself like, oh my god, I sound like my dad, and, like,
Yeah.
I don't want to go down the same path, but still want to mentor you. You know, kind of with the Aunt May situation. You know, I want to be there as a support for you, but also let you kind of figure it out.
Yeah, and I liked how much Tony was trying to be that supportive figure that he felt he didn't have when he was growing up. By like the scene when Peter is about to screw everything up on the ferry, Staten Island ferry, and he calls and he's like, you know, my dad didn't give me a lot of, like, praise, so I just want to call and tell you did a great job in DC, and then everything goes wrong and he has to parent him and reprimand him as a parent.
Right. I love how he just, like, zipped on in there. He's like, oh, cool, let me just, like, put these together. Let me just, like, do a little welding up here real quick, and then ferry's good to go. All right, thanks, Peter.
Yeah, it shows how the thing I loved about that one. I think I noticed it more this time was that was so contrasty of showing Peter trying everything frantically trying to get this ship back together.
98%, and it's not good enough.
Yeah, and then Iron Man comes in and gets it all fixed in 2 seconds. Like, it just shows like a hero just starting out to a hero who's saved the world multiple times already and has gotten this thing down to a science.
Right, these are so trivial. You
Yeah,
know, like these things are, like, kind of a waste of not a waste, but a waste of his time.
Yeah, which, speaking of that ferry scene, we actually, and also one of the end credit scenes, I'll talk about it a little bit now, we'll get more into it, is they reference another member of the Sinister Six. So my guessing is that there's going to be a Sinister Six movie to end the Tom Holland, Peter Parker arc.
Interesting. Was that the guy in the prison?
Yeah,
At the end?
so
Okay,
he's supposed to be the Scorpion. And so
okay.
my guess is we already have Vulture, we have the Scorpion, Venom is now technically MCU because of the Sony deal, and now with Morbius coming in, Jared Leto playing Morbius, and they said that's in the MCU because in the trailer for Morbius they had Michael Keaton playing the Vulture. I think that they're gonna load up.
They're piecing it together.
Yeah, I'm hoping
that'd be a great finale for him.
Yeah, like I'm hoping in the third Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland that we get some kind of like Doc Ock.
Ooh,
or
yes.
something, or kind of maybe like a better Electro than Jamie Foxx being all blue and
right.
That was so shitty.
We need, like, a real villain too. I mean, like, as great as Michael Keaton is, and he's like kind of a funny role. You know, he's like, whoops, I thought that was the gravity gun. You know, just like vaporizes the guy. Like, but I think it's also telling of, you know, Peter's not ready for that yet, and this is kind of him figuring it out with kind of a goofy villain who he can kind of, you know, win and feel good about himself and then go into the next battle with that on his shoulder.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to watch Far From Home because that...
Yeah, I'm excited, yeah.
Yeah, it does a great job of kind of wrapping up the Infinity Saga we have and also wrapping up, like, for now, Peter's story with Mysterio as the villain, which is just probably one of my favorite movies in the MCU. But... Sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. What happens next? Where are we at? What happens in this movie?
Yeah. What happened?
We get to see Peter kind of doing his Stark internship. He puts on the suit and he goes off and he basically, what does he do? He stops a bike jacking. He gives an old lady directions.
Gets a churro. Yeah.
Gets a churro. He stops a guy from getting into his own car because he thinks he's stealing the car.
Yep, and then that's the Stan Lee.
Yeah, the Stan Lee cameo.
Yeah, he's like, I thought he was stealing it. My bad.
Yeah, the dude's trying to break into his own car because he left the keys in there. Yeah, just seeing him be like the lowbrow, like friendly neighborhood Spider-Man was really, I think, a lot of fun. I feel like I could have watched that as a movie in itself.
Yeah, it was really fun too with him figuring out his suit.
Yeah,
and I love Karen. He ends up calling her, but kind of like a cheaper Jarvis.
Yeah, which she was great. I did like her in there, but I think it's funny how I feel like the name Karen just doesn't hold the same meaning in 2020 as it did in 2017.
No, it absolutely does not. But
I feel like they would have gone with something different if this movie was made now.
I like the that little portal thing that
yeah, that was cool.
That he had, how he could like phase through things. That was pretty fun. It was a cool sequence when he like traps him in the truck after he tries to, thwart his his thieving.
I like that we got to see that. So it's if anyone hasn't seen the movie for some reason, first of all, watch it because this won't make sense. But
spoilers.
It's the tech where he throws that thing. It kind of hits four corners and you can phase through any material. I like that we got to see it used twice. Once in a thieving practical sense and once in a ridiculous sense of when the one guy he works for the Vulture and he throws it against the refrigerator and uses it to reach in and grab a beer instead of going around and getting the beer from the front door of the fridge. Yeah. And then we get to see it used to break into the truck, and I like that we got to see it two different.
And then the plane at the end of the movie too.
Oh right? Yeah, end of the plane. I forgot about the plane.
Yeah, that was a very fun thing. And then I loved when he's like trapped in the truck and he's like, "Holy crap, where am I?" And she's like, "I have no idea." And then he like busts out and she's like, "Actually, you're in the most secure place anywhere, but there are no security."
Yeah, and he was just stuck in there, but he was able to get out because I guess it wasn't the most secure place.
Yeah, it was a cool sequence too, where he's like figuring out all the things he can do with his with his suit. Like right after he was messing around with it beforehand, and he's like, no, I don't want instant death mode. Plus, while the other guy in the car is trying to use the zap thing. What was that guy's name? Charge or something?
Oh, the Shocker.
The Shocker. Yeah.
Shocker. Yeah.
That was great. He's like, all right, you're Shocker now.
Yeah. Yeah, that was some cool callbacks to some that was a cool moment. Especially, I think one of the coolest kind of fan service moments was having Donald Glover play Aaron Davis, who we know is the Prowler, and he even mentions his nephew, who is Miles Morales, which I think that was just a cool moment.
Right when he was saying that in his neighborhood when he was doing the interrogation. Yeah. Yeah,
he's like, I got a nephew, man. I wanted to be safe out here, and I'm like, that's Miles Morales. And I was really hoping that would pay off and he would be the Prowler at some point. Mm-hmm. I hope they still do that because I love Donald Glover. Yeah. I love his music. I love his acting, his writing, everything is amazing.
Yeah, he's got everything. And he's in so many big movies now that it doesn't even matter that you're like, oh my God, that's Donald Glover. I don't care because he's great in whatever he does.
He's just side tangent. Probably the most talented person in all of Hollywood. The fact that he can do stand-up, he can write for television. He can act amazing. He can create shows. Right. Atlanta's amazing.
Musical genius.
Yeah. His music is outstanding. The dude is multi-talented, and I wish we could get him in a Spider-Man movie as the Prowler.
I thought you were going to say you wish we could get him on an episode. I'll see what I can do.
Let's get him in here.
Let's just call him up. Yeah.
Nothing. I mean, he can do anything. So why not this show? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. No, that was such a fun scene too, and it's fun to see him in not a huge role too, where he's kind of casual, just hanging out. He's like, I'm putting things in my trunk. It's just me. It's just me, Donald.
I think that was a fun kind of because I don't know if you remember back I think before Andrew Garfield's one, they were talking about doing another Spider-Man movie, and everyone really wanted him to be Spider-Man. And even he was like, I'll do it if they'll let me, and then they didn't go with him. So it's kind of a joke because there's websites of fan things of make Donald Glover Spider-Man, all this stuff, and they didn't do it. So I think that was kind of fan service. Let's put him in a Spider-Man and kind of remember how they would Andrew Garfield.
Back when he could have been it, or
yeah. So I think that was a fun moment. I loved him in there. I really hope we can kind of see his character again, or at least maybe that's the thing that maybe Miles Morales is going to come into the MCU afterwards. But I don't care because Spider-Verse is undoubtedly the best Spider-Man movie in my opinion. So I wouldn't. Yeah, they don't have to do it because they already have such a good Miles Morales movie. Yeah, there's a lot of little reference in this movie. A lot of little moments of like comic book fan service of like Aaron Davis, Shocker, Scorpion, like a lot of Spider-Man little things that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I was thinking too. Even the scene where they're at the Washington Monument. And he's down, and she's like, "Now's the moment, kiss her." You know, like that was obviously the hanging down sequence. Yeah. But wouldn't have made sense. Yeah, that was a pretty fun scene to watch too, because that was like the first time where he actually, well, he kind of caused it, so I feel like it's a net 0.
Yeah, exactly. It's still cool to watch him kind of spring into action.
Yes.
I did like that. Like, see him really, because we
got very climby up, like all on the walls, and then he's trying to break the glass, and
yeah, because we hadn't seen him really be full on Spider-Man. We'd seen him, like we said, get a churro and help only with directions, but we hadn't seen him go like full with the suit yet. So I think that was cool to be able to see him go like 110% as a Spider-Man.
And actually kind of see his like strength and like what he actually has, what he like brings to the table as far as a hero goes.
Yeah, because I think that's the only thing I think we really lost with not having origin story, like the Uncle Ben getting bit by a spider. Because I was okay with that, but you lose like what can this Spider-Man do? Because we already know that like Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man were super different in what they could do, and just basic stuff like where their webs came from. Tobey Maguire's it came out of him. Andrew Garfield was building the web shooters.
Yep.
So just basic things like what can they do, and this was nice to be able to see that put in action and saving people. But one thing I did want to talk about was the principal of his high school was the same guy who played in Captain America. He was a part of that crew that they were going around taking down shield bases. It's the same actor. So the way they describe that, so if you look in the scene where you're in the principal's office, there's a picture of him playing that character in Captain America.
Really?
It's supposed to be his grandson, but they just have the same actor. Like,
that's funny.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's funny that they joke around with that though, like putting the picture up.
Yeah, like they didn't. I feel like because this also that's just one of two. Because then the other one is Martin Starr, who plays his teacher, was also in the Incredible Hulk episode you and I recorded. He's in a scene with Edward Norton where he's just got pizza and he's like on the other side of the desk. So he does like raise his pizza up like he's toasting, and then that's it.
Yes,
but
that's right. Yeah, I forgot that he was in that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I thought he was good in this in that teacher role in this movie. I liked him. He's a very funny actor. I love him in Silicon Valley.
Oh yeah, I love that scene where he's like, I can't lose another student on a field trip. Not again.
And it just zooms in awkwardly again.
I love that. That was a great scene. I mean, this movie just it hits everything that you want for a Spider movie. Even like at the beginning, you have the orchestral Spider-Man theme, do 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 do. Like it was just like, this is exactly what I wanted from a Spider-Man movie. That I feel like we haven't had a great one. I was like, Spider-Verse came after, but I feel like after Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, we had a bunch of like very okay Spider-Man stuff coming out.
Yep.
And so it's nice to kind of get something again that, as a Spider-Man fan, you're like, oh, this is it. This is what I've been looking for.
And it's rooted in the MCU, so it carries more weight than just its own kind of franchise from Sony, to kind of keep the rights. And that's kind of what I felt like the Andrew Garfield series. I liked the movies for what they were. I didn't think they carried any weight outside of what they were, which kind of makes these movies way more impactful, because now you're like, oh man, that's Iron Man. He's coming back, and he's Iron Man. He's in the suit. He's actually in the suit. He's stepping out. Ah! I love the. I think they kind of played with that at the beginning when he's like vlogging. Like he's on his phone and he's like, oh my god, and then I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna steal Captain Shield. Oh, that's crazy. That was crazy. Oh my god. Yeah. What's going on?
I liked speaking of that, like his teenage element of like teenagers think they can do anything. So I like the line he's like, when he's talking to Tony, he's like, I fought a Captain America. And Iron Man's like, dude, if Cap wanted to kill you, he would have killed you. Like,
he would have bopped you.
Yeah, he went way easy on you because, like, he's a kid. And Cap knew he was a kid. But I love, like, they put that, like, I'm a teenager. Like, I don't need to be, like, tracked. Like, why am I on the training wheels program? Like, no, this makes it, like, I should be fighting major villains right now. I love that, like, they kind of put that, even though he can barely handle, like, the simplest things of, like, stop, like, just, catching an elevator, which, I mean, obviously that's simple things, but as a superhero, driving.
Like, yeah. Yeah, and I think that was his kind of arc in this first movie, and especially when it comes to that end sequence where Tony's like, this is the suit, I have a press conference ready for you, and then he's like, actually no, because he's like, I am not ready for that yet. Like, now I realize what I'm getting my head in, what I'm getting into here. And getting way ahead of myself. He's like, I'll go back. I'll do my thing for a while, and then if you guys need me, call me. But like, I can't. Like, this is a lot to take on for like my full-time gig.
Yeah, he learned like it's okay to just be like a teenager for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I remember in that scene where you get to see the Iron Spider suit for the first time, which I was really excited, which paid off immediately in Infinity War.
Yep. Immediately. Yeah,
it's the first time you see him. He's almost immediately in the Iron Spider, but. Like, I never read, like, a lot of Spider-Man comics, but I have a good gist of, like, Spider-Man lore. And I do like that they are doing a good job of keeping his, like, putting the suits differently, which, did you play the PS4 Spider-Man game?
Mm-mm. But I heard it really makes you feel like Spider-Man.
It really makes you feel like Spider-Man. You get to use his suits from this movie. You get to use, the suit Tony gave him. You get to use his, pajama suit with the broken hoodie and all that stuff with the goggles, and you get to use...
That he's always trying to take off and then put back on. He's like, I can't see. And he's like, oh, now I need to put it on. Oh, now I can't see.
Yeah. I like the way they did it, because I feel like we didn't get one of those suits with Andrew Garfield. So last time we got to see it was the first Spider-Man when he has his crappy suit, which I remember like...
Yeah, it was more of a Peter Parker series than Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield. Like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like... That second one was just so bad. I'm sorry, but it was
it was.
Because you had the Rhino in it for 3 seconds. You had Jamie Foxx as just a horrible Electro.
Yep.
Just awful. And then you had, what's that one dude's name who was Hobgoblin, who was very, why are you here?
Mediocre.
Yeah. Which, this one was good. This one, I feel like, were hesitant with Spider-Man, because I think we'd had, up until this one, as live action, we had 2 good ones. We had Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire. I think we can all agree Spider-Man 3 was rough for Tobey. And then 2 really rough Andrew Garfield movies.
Yeah.
Which, my hair's tied back, but if it was down, I would do the Tobey Maguire emo look for Spider-Man 3.
I'm glad it's tied back.
I got my little man bun.
Yeah, it's looking good.
It's my quarantine hair.
Yeah, Spider-Verse then kind of saved the day.
Oh, Spider-Verse
restored all faith in Sony's ability to do justice to Spider-Man.
Like I said at the beginning, we're gonna start alternating comic book movies and non-comic book movies. When we get to Spider-Verse, Adam, you're gonna be on that show with me.
Yes.
And all we're gonna do is just say for an hour how it's just like
and then that scene, and then
so good, because it's
excellent,
just the perfect.
I look forward to it.
We're gonna do it. So I think one of my favorite parts of this movie, my favorite just shot in this movie, is when, so he's fighting the Vulture. He knows Adrian Toomes, and then he gets to the house to pick up his homecoming date, and the Vulture answers the door, and it's her dad. Yeah. That shot and that moment of just, you see I don't know. Tom Holland's I think he's a good actor. I don't think he's great. I think he'll be great, but I think he's a good actor right now. But it was great the way you can almost see the color just drain from his face the second he sees Adrian Toomes answer the door. And he puts it together like, oh, fuck, that's her dad.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny, too, because he doesn't know yet that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He unfortunately gets it, spoiled, basically, by Liz in the car. He's like, shut up.
Yeah.
Stop talking. You're incriminating me. Let's just
talking
get
about, the Stark internship and how he knows Spider-Man and all that stuff.
Yeah, and then she's like, oh, and then you weren't there, but then Spider-Man showed up and saved the day.
Yeah.
Dad's like, wait, Liz, you actually don't. It's him.
Yeah, no one's just putting that together.
It's him. It's obviously him. But yeah, that scene was awesome. When he just comes in and because I was like, oh, shit. What's going to happen? Is he going to kill him? Is he going to be conflicted because he likes Liz, but this guy is, bad? Is Michael Keaton gonna kill him or is he not because he loves his daughter? But
so this is your first time seeing the movie. Did you expect that? Did you see that coming at all?
No, not at all.
So what did you talk me through?
I was like, I was like, oh man, because you're nervous too. I knew it was his moment though to prove himself. This had to be he's got to overcome it. There's no way he was gonna kill him. That would have just been kind of a rehashing of the Tobey Maguire when he kills Green Goblin, and then and then James Franco's like, oh man, how could you do this, Peter? And then he like, so it would have been that whole like dilemma between like having friends versus killing bad guys, and so I knew it was gonna work out like that. I was worried that because he didn't have a suit at that point, he was basically stripped of everything, but he's still Spider-Man, and that's exactly what Tony Stark said. He's like, if you're nothing without the suit, then like why have the suit?
Yeah, and I think that was especially important with Tony, because that was his whole problem up through Iron Man 3 was he thought that everything all he was his suits.
Right.
And so I think it was powerful. He had just learned that lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And so to have to teach it, I feel like made it so much harder for him, but also meant a lot more in this scene when you think about that he had to just learn the lesson. He had to figure that out himself. And I feel like every hero we have so far has had to figure that out. Thor had to learn that he's still himself even without the hammer. He's still Thor. Or Cap had to learn even without the shield and the serum, he's still who he was in his core. And I feel like everyone has to learn that lesson. So I think Peter's very lucky that he got to learn that very early on in this movie. And it's so powerful in that scene when Vulture drops the building on him. Mm-hmm. And he learned, and he gets himself out.
He's like, help. But then he's like, wait, I can do this. Like, come on, Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't need this suit. I am still Spider-Man, even in like the darkest time.
Yeah, and I love that. The scene where I think it's right after the ferry, where they're up on a building somewhere, and then he comes down and he's like, "You're probably not even here. You're probably," and it opens up and he is there. Because before he saved him. Yeah. The first time the Vulture like threw him into the water, and he wasn't there. He was just like autonomously controlling him from, I don't know, Dubai or wherever he was.
Yeah, wherever it was, which looked like a beautiful place that I want to go to.
It looked pretty amazing. Yeah.
It looked amazing. I want to go chill there.
Yeah, but then that was huge at the end too, because when he steps out, he's actually in the suit.
Yeah,
it's him. He's embodying it. He's there. He's actually there to teach him a lesson.
Yeah,
because it meant so much for him.
Yeah, because Tony never got that person there for him to teach him these things, and he had to go through his own trials of, like you and I talked about in Iron Man 3, his panic attacks, all the stuff that he had to go through alone. He didn't want Peter to have to go through any of that alone, and so he was always there when he could be, in the way that only Tony can be, of kind of harassing him, giving him shit,
just kind of teasing him, like dangling the suit in front of him, but not actually giving it to him. Yeah, because Tony had like Obadiah, but then as a mentor and friend, and then he turned bad. So like Tony never had that person, like you were saying, that he could really trust and respect.
I think the closest thing he had was Rhodes, but then it's not like Rhodes could ever really relate to what he was going through in the movies.
Yeah, and Rhodes did the same thing. He took a suit and like stabbed him in the back. Like everybody's like after Tony's suits. He's like, dude, chill.
But Tony needed that little
he did
kick in the butt.
His little reality check.
Yeah, he needed that pretty badly. God, that feels like forever ago we recorded that. I was just talking to you about how we recorded the Hulk in June, and now we're going into October. Oh man, I didn't realize the undertaking of. Side tangent. I went back and I was looking at older episodes of the show, and it's so funny that I remember Ben and I had only recorded 6 episodes before the pandemic hit. Episode 7 is our first episode. Like, I remember I would listen to it. We're like, oh, like we really hope we don't have to do this for too long. We're gonna be recording from home for now, and like all this stuff.
And back in simpler times, back when the Olympics were still happening, and
we've done like almost 30 episodes like this.
That's wild.
It's great. The only good thing I can say came from it is that I got to have like you on the show and Chris on the show, because obviously you guys are out of state from where I am, so being able to have you guys on the show is great, because this is a good excuse to like be able to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's such a great universe to have it in. It's so fun. It's so. Yeah, it's intense. It's all over the place.
This was an undertaking that I didn't expect to have to do, but like being in this now, I think it's great to because you, Chris, Dom, and Grayson, and my dad have been like our 5 rotating guests, and it's great to kind of have you guys like learn like what you guys think of it, because I know what I think of it. I know my views. I know my girlfriend's views. I know my friend's views. So like that I've seen the movies with. So it's nice to kind of have what you guys think of these movies and kind of see the parallels that you draw, because there's so many things that you guys are like, oh, and then there's this, and like it relates to this. I'm like, oh shit, it does. I never thought of that.
Yeah. No, it's so fun to get new perspectives, and I can't wait to do the dual episode with Chris.
Yeah, we're gonna
That'll
be doing
be fun.
Infinity War with you and Chris together. That'll be a lot of fun.
I don't know how we're gonna squeeze that at under an hour, but that'll be okay.
It's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be a long one. It's gonna be a long episode. I also one thing I want to talk about this movie was I think the MCU does a good job of putting these characters into a semi-realism and kind of making it like semi-real of what these powers are, and seeing the Vulture, his like wings that were basically like with the helicopter blade. Like
yeah,
they did a good job.
It looked incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, and they did a good job with sound effects. There's the scene on the ferry when he grabs Peter with like his Vulture claws, and then he looks down. You have like the screeching sound, like a vulture sound almost, kind of like. As he's grabbing, you see his face. They did a good job. He has the jacket with like the fur around it, kind of like a vulture has that.
Right,
fur
and then pulls off
neck.
the mask that he has on with the glowing green eyes.
It was cool. They did a good job. Like just
absolutely, it felt very real.
Yeah, because the Vulture, when you look at him,
it's real as it can.
In his comic book form, the Vulture is absolutely ridiculous looking.
I'll have to look him up.
It's an old guy with like a long beaky nose, and his body's green with like wings, and it's ridiculous looking. And so they did a good job of bringing it to a form of realism and like bringing it to a point of going, okay, I believe that could be a thing.
Right, and kind of not trying to mimic what's Captain America's sidekick's name?
The Falcon.
Yeah, and because like they're very identical suits, kind of like
similar ideas,
like a metallic winged flying. But this looked way more like homemade.
Yeah.
Kind of like really intense, made with like really like all that alien crap that they were messing around with in the truck. Whereas the other one was a much more military suit. Yeah,
which we've talked a lot about Adrian Toomes as a character, but as the Vulture, he had some cool scenes. Like when Spider-Man shoots the webs and he just like has his wings come out and like cuts them.
I was just thinking about that.
That was cool. That was a cool.
Yeah, that's cool. He's
shit.
Like, get this off of me.
Yeah. They did a good job of making him like we said, just menacing but cool and realistic. Like they'd hit that middle ground like very, very good. Well, they did a very good job on him, and
I loved how he could kind of like jump out of the suit and then like just jump right back into it. Like he'd leave it when he had to go do something. Well, it's huge. I mean, obviously you couldn't fit in these little areas, but it was just like an extension of him. Like ready at all times.
Yeah, like the scene on the truck when he like Spider-Man comes, he just jumps up and like it magnetizes and like he jumps back into the suit and like he takes off with the wings. It's cool shit, man.
I love the end fight too, like on the plane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, yeah, this is how he proves himself. He's gonna save the day by saving all trillions of dollars worth of equipment and that Happy was like responsible for, and he's like, all right, everything's good. It's going in the direction. Excellent. But that was that little like decoy drone thing or whatever that was right next to it.
Yeah, which I don't know if you noticed when Happy's talking about what's on there. So there's another comic book fan service. He talks about Thor's magic belt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he couldn't pronounce it, and then he's like,
yeah, it's a ridiculous name. I thought about talking about it, but I was like, I wouldn't even be able to come close to pronouncing it, and I'll just offend people, so I'm just not even gonna try. But then they also talk about what Iron Man's old Hulkbuster suit, which I'm guessing is the what movie am I thinking? Avengers 2 Ultron suit. And then he talks about something else. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. But something else is on that plane. Like some other... Oh, Captain America's prototype shield, which in the comics Cap gets a different shield, but obviously we're never going to be able to see that because...
Right. Plus other, when he's on the plane, he's like he sees the Iron Man mask and like throws it away. You see an Iron Man suit in the back, like that's loaded with like so many important things for the Avengers.
That's one of those ones that's like when you look at the collector's house in Guardians of the Galaxy, that's when you have to pause and like look and see if you can catch all the little things that they put in there. Mm-hmm. Because there's some cool stuff in the background of those scenes.
I'm guessing there, like you're saying, in that scene, there are a lot of little trinkets around.
I'm sure.
I think this was really telling, though, of Adrian's kind of his greed. At some point, because he's having all these close calls all over the place, and this is probably supposed to be the one job, right? That if he pulls it off successfully, they're good forever. When he's talking to his guy in the chair. Back at their main lab or whatever, he's like, one of those crates and we're set for life.
Yeah.
Like we will never need anything. And he's like, one of these crates, huh? Like let's take the whole plane. But ultimately it comes crashing down.
Literally comes crashing down.
Yep.
Which, now, speaking of man in the chair, I love that scene when Ned is being Spider-Man's man in the chair, and the teacher comes in. What are you doing? It's like looking at porn.
Yeah, it's just like looking at porn.
Yeah, because it's better than having like saying what he's actually doing of helping Spider-Man.
Right, and that was the best thing that he came up with. He was fun, and it's so good in that role. He's like, "Can I be your guy in the chair?"
Yeah,
He's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "They always like, I'll tell you where to go."
Yeah, he was also like an attempt at being a moral compass of like, Peter, I don't know if you should be doing this. Like,
oh yeah,
he was a good job. I mean, Jacob Batalon, I like him as an actor. He killed it as Ned, and even like, I don't want to. Oh wait, I'm gonna say a spoiler for Endgame if you haven't seen it. Just don't listen for the next 30 seconds. At the end, so going in now. At the end of Endgame, when Peter gets to hug him like for the first time, and he did a good job even then of just, you get to see how much he missed. Like, he pulled so much emotion. Just that 2-second scene, he doesn't even say anything. He just hugs Peter with so much like emotions, so you can tell how much he missed him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that shows a lot. That pays off a lot of what this movie was, of showing how close they are as friends.
Right. And I love the real quick, but like the party scene where he's thinking about, oh, should I be Spider-Man? Is it a party trick? Should I like abuse this? Are people going to figure it out? And he leaves Ned hanging, and he was just kind of sad that even Peter wasn't there. It would have been cool if Spider-Man came in and then he's cool. He's the cool kid in school who's friends with Peter, who's friends with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But like, I think he just missed his buddy being there. Like he just left him hanging.
Yeah, which at the end of the day, like, these good kids were just nerds in high school. Like, I was a nerd in high school. I can relate to, like, you have your friend, like, yeah, there's people like Flash Thompson who are gonna be dicks, but when you have that friend that's like,
jerk.
He was a jerk.
DJ Flash. I'm like, oh my god, stop.
He's such a dick, but as like a nerd, you can relate to, like, I can relate to, like, seeing him, like, you just want, like, when you're in a situation like that, you want your friend there that's the same as you, that you can relate to and, like, confide in if something goes wrong.
Right.
But I did like, in the way, they changed the Flash Thompson character, because a bully back in whenever Spider-Man was created, the 60s or 70s or whatever, was that jock. Bullies nowadays are kind of different. It's not the jock anymore. It's the rich, stuck-up kind of jerk. And they
just giving you crap.
They changed the Flash character. It's still the bully, but they changed it with modern day social construct. And I like that. I like the way they did that.
Was he on the debate or the team with him?
Yeah, he was. He was
just funny because they're like kind of friends, but he also
he's a jerk.
He's just like a jerk to him. Yeah.
Yeah, but because when we see the like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, they're these big musclehead jocks.
Right. That
are like the bullies of Flash Thompson, and they should. I think when you get break down, like, as a comic book person, like, you kind of wish that they would do what the comic books do. But I'm glad I preferred what they did in this movie, is they changed it with modern day bullying. Modern day, it's not usually. I mean, I can't speak. I haven't been in high school for fucking 10 years, but when I feel like the bullies aren't the jocks anymore. They're the rich kids, the stuck-up kids, the kids who think they're above you because of a social class leveling, and I think that's interesting. Right. I'm glad they did that. I'm glad they changed that.
Yeah, I agree.
What time are we at here? 48 minutes. My God. I think we gotta jump into some mid and end credit scenes here. Yep. Wait, but before we do that, is there anything else you want to talk about? I don't want to cut you off. I don't want to take away any points that
I don't think so. I like that scene at the end, where Tony's like, oh, this is your suit. If you want it, you go in there for like a press conference, like, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Like, you made it. And he's like, no, I'm actually good. And he's like, he actually made a really mature move right there. Like, he's figuring it out, and he's kind of realizing what this is. And so it's kind of fun to see. Now he has an appreciation for the suit. He respects it. He respects what he has more.
Yeah.
He knows how to jump into these situations more effectively and safely, and is not going to have to rely on Tony to be tracking him and saving his butt every time he accidentally cuts a freight in half, or
well, whatever silly things he ends up doing.
Yeah.
So we have our first mid-credit scene. So Toombs is locked up, and this is where we get to see the first kind of like call out that he is the Scorpion. He has got this guy he's talking to has a scorpion tattoo on his neck, and they're talking about he mentions other criminals who want to come together and kill Spider-Man. Sinister Six, maybe, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And Toombs, I feel like Toombs, obviously, he denies it because I don't think he wants Spider-Man. Because if they make that connection to Spider-Man, that he's Peter Parker, if Toombs tells them that it's Peter Parker, then they're going to make a connection to Toombs' daughter. And I think that's why he lies and says he doesn't know who Spider-Man is.
Yeah, I thought too, because at the end he tried to save him.
Yeah,
he realized that. Oh, plus it was never personal.
Yeah, that's true.
With Peter, it was always business, and he could have killed him probably at any point, but didn't. And then at the end, Peter could have killed him. That would have been crazy for his character to kill him at the end. I mean, this early into. I mean, he's 15.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd have had that weight on his shoulder. He just tied him up, and he's like, "Yep, here he is." I thought that was I thought that scene reminded me a lot of The Dark Knight. When Batman puts Wu or whatever that guy's name is on the street with the note to his chest.
Yeah.
End credit scene. Yeah, connecting. With his daughter and kind of looking out for it. Plus, I think he also if that's his useful information. You know, that's why he's still a valuable asset to any the Sinister Six or anybody else who's trying to break out and overthrow him. He knows who Peter Parker is.
Yeah. And then we get the end credit scene.
Rather.
Yeah. So I like throughout this movie we have Captain America. So you're in detention. I like that Captain America stuff. So we have the Captain America do another PSA about what is it like? Talking about patience.
Yep.
And whatever, because I think that was
he's whether you're a student or a soldier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the fans, be patient. I feel like that's kind of what that was. There's more to come. It was different than that.
I thought it was very much joking that you waited, because he's saying patience, you waited, and sometimes it doesn't pay off. He was very much joking that the end credit scene was not an end credit scene. You're not gonna see Thor or what's gonna happen next. It's and you waited, and for nothing.
This is it.
There's only 5 seconds left at the end of this movie, and I'm gonna talk for the whole time.
That was definitely the main point of I pulled that of just be patient.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like that. You sat here and you waited. We're not going to give you anything else. That's all this is.
It's just me. Yeah, it's just me again.
It kind of reminds me of Ferris Bueller, another Ferris Bueller reference of you get the end credits scene of, what are you doing here? Go home.
Yep.
Just get out of here. Why are you still sitting here?
Exactly. I'm glad you re-brought that up because I wanted to mention that.
Yeah, I like that. There's a lot of again just callbacks to those 80s movies and because I like that this movie's supposed to take place in I think 2020 because
nobody was wearing masks.
No, they couldn't have told us.
Shocked.
They couldn't have fucking told us.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm annoyed.
Yeah, because the movie starts in 2012 and it says 8 years later, so 2020 and I like that they're still. It was a callback to the 80s that they're still playing these VHS style, Sorry, I got sirens. They're still playing the VHS style PSAs that no one makes those kinds of PSAs anymore.
Right. Yeah. And they were even joking about it there now. Or he's I don't want to show this, but I have to. And
yeah.
I like that scene where Ned bursts out, Peter knows Spider-Man. In the gym, and he's I don't know why I did that. He's why did you just do that? He's oh yeah, Coach Blank knows Captain America or something.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
No, I like that a lot. I think that about wraps up the movie. Okay, if we move into the beer?
Yeah, go ahead.
So this beer is called Scale the Walls. It's by Institution Ale Company. So I used to go to college up in Thousand Oaks, California, if anyone knows the city. And about 15 minutes north is Camarillo, and that's where one of the breweries are. I've been to Institution Ales a bunch of times. Great food, great beer. And for people watching the video version on YouTube, this is what the can looks like. I got it from a company called High Times. I got it from their store. So if you guys have a High Times or if you're living anywhere in kind of Southern California area or Camarillo area, I'd highly recommend it. This beer was amazing. It's a 7.6 alcohol by volume IPA. If you're interested, the hops are Citra and Mosaic. And this brewery has 2 locations, Camarillo and Santa Barbara. So if you're in that area at all, those are relatively close together, about 45 minutes, half an hour away from each other. Really, really good. I'd highly recommend them. I've had beer from them for the last few years. Like I said, I used to live there. I used to go there all the time. Outstanding beer, outstanding food. Always consistently good. Never a dull beer from them at all. They do a lot of stouts from what I can remember. They might have changed. in the last few years, but they got indoor seating, outdoor seating. I believe right now they're just doing outdoor seating. They are open right now for pickup if you guys are in the area. They got TVs, game rooms, patios. You can even walk through their brewery to go check out what they're brewing and how they're doing it. It's really interesting, really cool. So I'd highly recommend going to check them out if you can. I know most of our listeners are in California. If you're Southern California, kind of Santa Barbara area, I'd definitely recommend them. Very, very good. Very consistent American ales that are just outstanding. And
sounds good. You're making my mouth water.
I think, yeah. I mean, I miss it. I miss living up there because the breweries out there were amazing, and this was one of them that I used to go to all the time. And I mean, how can you beat Spider-Man? Scale the walls. It's just like he scales walls. It's perfect.
That's heaven. Yeah.
You can't beat it. You can't.
That's perfect.
It's so good. So just before we wrap out, I just want to say follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ComicallyPod. Next week we have Dominic on to talk about Thor Ragnarok, on a beer that I've been holding on to for a very long time from Unsung Brewing. And after that, I think the next time we're going to see you, Adam, is on the Infinity War episode with you and Chris.
Can't wait. Time's going to fly. It's going to
go quick.
It's going to come up before you know it.
It's going to go quick.
I can't wait. That's going to be a trip.
It's going to be a good one. It's going to be not a lot of summing up the movie in any way because there's too much movie to sum up. So whatever, we're just going to talk about whatever the fuck we
just whatever you remember, whatever pops up.
Whatever comes to mind. I'm excited to see how that one goes. It's going to be a long episode, so get ready for that. And thank you guys so much for listening or watching. Remember, we are on YouTube now with video versions, so check us out, subscribe, like, whatever, all that YouTube junk that everyone always says. Adam, thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, Spider-Man. I'm glad to be back, and anytime you call, like, friendly neighborhood. I'm ready.
Friendly neighborhood Adam, ready to do the podcast.
Ready to go, always.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys next week.
Adios.